Maya Clark moved her mop across the cold metal floor of the medical bay. Blood stains covered the tiles from the latest battle. War against the Corvath had been brutal, and the ship carried the scars to prove it. She wore a tattered maintenance uniform that hung loose on her thin frame. Burn marks covered her arms and neck, but she kept them hidden under long sleeves. The other crew members walked past her without a second glance. To them, she was just another refugee who cleaned floors in exchange for food and shelter. Nobody knew the truth about who she really was. Nobody could ever know. The ship called Valiant Dawn was massive and filled with soldiers preparing for the next fight. Maya had been working here for 3 years. No, she scrubbed floors and cleaned bathrooms and emptied trash bins. Work was hard, but it kept her invisible. That was exactly what she needed. That night when the corridors grew dark and empty, she would return to her tiny quarters. The room was barely large enough for a bed and a small locker, but it had something nobody else knew about. Shadow that moved in the corner, a presence that made the air feel warm. Member waited for her there. The dragon was enormous, with scales as black as deep space. His eyes glowed like distant stars. When Maya entered the room, he would phase through the hull itself, his form shifting between solid and shadow. Bond between them ran deeper than blood. He coiled around her protectively while she slept. Nobody on the ship had any idea that a dragon lived among them. The Corvath were getting closer. Maya heard the officers talking when she cleaned the bridge. Their fleet was moving faster than the Federation had predicted. The next battle would be the biggest one yet. Captain Beth Morrison stood at the command console, giving orders. She was a strong leader who had saved the ship many times before. Maya watched her sometimes when nobody was looking. There was something about the captain that reminded her of the old warriors from her homeworld, the ones who fought with honor even when facing certain death. Humanity had that quality. They never gave up, no matter how bad things became. That was why Maya had chosen to stay with them. Commander Lisa Brennan entered the medical bay, carrying a stack of data pads. She was a decorated war hero with medals covering her uniform. Her face showed the exhaustion of someone who had seen too much combat. Maya kept her head down and continued mopping. The commander walked past without noticing her. Then something fell from her pocket. A small card fluttered to the ground. Maya picked it up. It was an invitation to the annual Victory Gala event was happening in 3 days. All the senior officers would attend. Maya held the card out to the commander. Lisa turned around and saw the janitor standing there. For a moment their eyes met. Maya quickly looked down, but it was too late. Something in that brief glance made the commander pause. Maya had violet eyes that seemed to hold depths no human should possess. Lisa took the card back, but she kept staring. There was something different about this janitor, something she could not quite identify. Then Lisa did something unexpected. She smiled. It was a genuine warm smile that reached her tired eyes, the kind of smile that came from real kindness. Maya felt something shift inside her chest. It had been so long since anyone had looked at her with simple human warmth. Lisa spoke. Then her voice was gentle. She asked Maya if she had any plans for the gala. Maya shook her head. She never attended any events. She stayed in the shadows where she belonged. Lisa seemed to think for a moment. Then she made an offer that would change everything. She invited Maya to come with her to the gala. The words hung in the air between them. With me to the gala. Lisa said it casually, as if inviting a janitor to a formal military event was perfectly normal. She explained that everyone deserved a night to forget about the war, even the people who cleaned up after the battles. Maya did not know what to say. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Lisa took her silence as hesitation. She assured Maya that it would be fine. She could borrow a dress from someone. It would be good to have company. Lisa admitted that she dreaded these formal events. Having someone to talk to would make it bearable. Maya finally nodded. She agreed without fully understanding why. Lisa seemed pleased. She told Maya to meet her at the main hall in 3 days. Then she walked away, leaving Maya standing alone with her mop. That night Ember materialized in her quarters. His massive form filled the small space. He looked at her with ancient, knowing eyes. The dragon spoke directly into her mind. He asked if she understood what she had just agreed to. Maya sat on her bed, her hands trembled slightly. She had spent 300 years hiding, 300 years pretending to be something she was not. The Gala would put her in a room full of people who might notice things, people who might ask questions, but something in Lisa's smile had reached past all her defenses. For just one moment, Maya wanted to be seen. Not as Seraphina Lara, Night Whisper, the heir to a fallen empire, not as the last dragon-bonded noble, just as someone worthy of simple kindness. Sember rumbled deep in his chest. It was a sound of both warning and understanding. He reminded her that the Korvath were searching, that her uncle still hunted her, that revealing herself could doom them both. Maya knew all of this. She had lived with the fear for centuries, but she was tired of hiding, tired of being invisible. The humans fought every day, knowing they might die, faced impossible odds with courage she had rarely seen. Maybe it was time she showed the same bravery. Strange energy readings began appearing on the ship's scanner. Maya noticed them when she cleaned the bridge late at night. The patterns were familiar, too familiar they matched Korvath's stealth technology, but there was something else mixed in, something that made her blood run cold. Void energy. The same corruption that had destroyed her people. She wanted to warn someone, to tell Captain Morrison what she saw in those readings. But how could she explain how a janitor knew about alien technology? How could she reveal what she was without putting everyone at risk? So she stayed silent. She watched and waited. She cleaned floors and tried to prepare for whatever was coming. The Gala was 3 days away, 3 days until she stepped out of the shadows, 3 days until everything might change. Maya looked at Ember. The dragon met her gaze. In his eyes, she saw the reflection of starlight. Same light that had shone over her homeworld before it fell. They had survived this long by staying hidden. Maybe survival was not enough anymore. Maybe it was time to truly live in, if only for one night, even if it meant risking everything. The dress hung in Maya's tiny quarters like a promise. Lisa had brought it herself, along with shoes and a small bag. The fabric was deep blue like the night sky. Maya had not worn anything beautiful in centuries. She touched the soft material with trembling fingers. Ember watched from the shadows. His concern radiated through their bond. He reminded her again that this was dangerous. Exposure meant death. Maya knew he was right, but she was done being afraid. The Gala was held in the main ballroom. The Federation had converted an entire cargo bay for the event. Lights hung from the ceiling like stars. Music played from hidden speakers. Officers in their best uniforms filled the space. Their laughter echoed off the metal walls. Maya entered with Lisa at her side. Every head seemed to turn. The janitor they had ignored for 3 years now stood before them, transformed. Her hair fell in waves down her back. Dress fit her perfectly, but it was more than her appearance that drew attention. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible. Her steps were to light, her posture to perfect. Lieutenant Kate Vincent watched from across the room, her eyes narrowed with suspicion. She had noticed Maya before. The way the janitor seemed to be everywhere, the way she moved through the ship like a ghost now. Seeing her like this confirmed Kate's instinct. Something was wrong. Captain Morrison approached Lisa and her guests. She greeted them warmly. Her eyes lingered on Maya for a moment longer than necessary. Morrison had not survived this long without learning to read people. This woman was not what she appeared to be. But tonight was not the night for interrogations. Tonight was for pretending they were not at Worth. Evening progressed with speeches and toasts. Maya stood quietly beside Lisu. She sipped water and observed everything. Her awareness extended far beyond normal human senses. She could hear conversations across the room, could sense the tension in the air, could feel something dark approaching. The feeling grew stronger with each passing minute. Then the senior officers gathered in a private section. They thought their discussion was secret, but Maya heard every word. They were debating Project Starfall weapon that could end the war, ray weapon that would destroy entire star systems where innocent beings still lived. Neutral species who had nothing to do with this conflict. Maya felt sick. This is how it started. This was how civilizations justified terrible things, fear and desperation leading to choices that destroyed the soul. She had seen it happen to her own people, the same logic that had torn apart the Elven Empire. Lisa noticed her distress. She I asked if Maya was feeling well. Maya forced a smile. She said she just needed air before she could move the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the ballroom. Screams erupted as something crashed through the main and Corvath Infiltrator 6. Of them armed with plasma weapons, their armor gleamed in the emergency lights. They had somehow bypassed the ships. Security, they opened fire immediately. Officers dove for cover. The music stopped, replaced by the sound of energy blasts. People ran in all directions. Chaos consumed the elegant gathering. Maya saw Lisa pulled her sidearm. The commander was brave, but she was also exposed. A Corvath soldier aimed directly at her. Time seemed to slow. Maya made a choice. She moved. Her body flowed like water across the space, faster than any human could move. She reached Lisa just as the plasma bolt fired. Her hand came up glowing with ethereal blue fire. The energy blast dissolved against her palm. Lisa stared in shock. Maya's disguise was failing. The stress and emotion breaking through her carefully maintained illusion. Her ears were becoming visible long and pointed. Her skin began to glow with constellation-like markings. The Corvath soldiers saw her. Their eyes widened in recognition. In fear, they knew what she was. They shouted something in their harsh language, name she had not heard spoken aloud in centuries. Serafina. The word echoed through the ballroom where soldiers poured in, but they were not focused on the humans anymore. They wanted her. Maya felt rage building inside her chest. These creatures served the same darkness that had destroyed her home, the same corruption that had killed her family. She would not let them harm these people. Her hands blazed. Brighter ancient words poured from her lips, words of power from a language older than human civilization. The temperature in the room dropped. Frost formed on the metal walls. Then ember came. He phased through the hull itself. His massive dragon form materialized above the ballroom scales, black as voidas, burning like stars' wings that seemed to fold space itself. His roar shook the entire ship. Was a sound of fury and protection, a sound that spoke of ancient power. Awakened. The Corvath soldiers scattered, but Ember was faster. His claws raked through their armor like paper. His tail swept 3 of them aside. Dragon fire poured from his jaws, not the normal fire of Earth dragons, but stellar flame that burned with the heat of suns. The remaining infiltrators tried to retreat. Maya would not let them. She moved among them like a storm, her touch freezing their weapons, her presence radiating power that made them stumble within moments. It was over. The Corvath lay defeated. Emergency teams rushed in. Medical personnel attended to the wounded. Officers secured the area, and everyone stared at Maya, at the woman who had been cleaning their floors. The woman who now stood revealed glowing skin, covered in markings that pulsed, with light violet eyes that held the weight of ages. A dragon the size of a corvette hovering protectively above her. Captain Morrison pushed through the crowd. Her weapon was drawn, but not aimed. She demanded answers. Her voice was hard with command. Maya stood straight. He met the captain's gaze without flinching. She could run, could disappear into the shadows again. But she was tired of running, tired of lies. Lissa stepped forward, then she was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but she placed herself between Maya and the captain's gun. She spoke with conviction. This woman had just saved her life, had saved all their lives. Whatever she was, she had fought for them. Kate Vincent argued against trust. She demanded Maya be detained. Question: the ship's security was compromised. They could not afford to harbor unknowns more. Officers joined. The debate. Voices rose in anger and fear. Maya remained silent. She let them argue. She understood their fear. Rumberg growled low. His patience was wearing thin. He did not trust these humans the way Maya did. Finally, Morrison raised her hands. Silence fell. The captain looked at Maya, really looked at her. She saw something in those ancient eyes, something familiar, the same determination she saw in her own crew, the same refusal to surrender. Morrison asked a single question. Maya took a breath. 300 years of hiding, 300 years of fear, it all came down to this moment. She spoke her true name, that name she had not said aloud. Since her empire, Feli am Serafini, Elera Night Wisp, Perdort of the sundered throne heir, to the elven stellar empire, and I have been hiding among you because humanity is the key to everything. The Corvath did not just attack you, they are searching for me. They fear what happens when dragons and humans fight together. The ballroom was dead silent. Every Person present understood they had just witnessed something historic. Something
Ow.
that would change the course of the war. Maya stood before them. Longer a janitor, no longer hidden, just a woman, and her dragon asking for a chance, asking to be trusted, asking to fight beside them. Captain Morrison lowered her weapon. She did not holster it, but she lowered it. That was enough for now. The interrogation room was cold, and Maya sat at a metal table with her hands visible. She wore simple clothes again. The beautiful dress was gone. Nember waited outside the room. His presence could be felt through the walls, a constant reminder of power. Barely contained, Captain Morrison sat across from her. Lisa stood by the door. Kate watched from the corner with suspicious eyes. Officers crowded the observation window. They all wanted answers. Morrison activated a recorder. She asked Maya to explain everything, to start from the beginning. Maya closed her eyes. Memories flooded back, memories she had tried to bury for 3 centuries. She began to speak. Her voice was soft but steady. She told them about the Elven Stellar Empire, about a civilization that had spanned 1,000 worlds, about a people who had lived for millennia, who had bonded with dragons as partners and protectors. The empire had been beautiful. Once cities of crystal that caught starlight ships, that sailed between dimensions, art and music and knowledge beyond measure. Her mother had been Empress Celestara, ruler beloved by her people. Woman of vision who saw beyond traditions. Celestar had watched humanity merge from their homeworld, had seen them spread to nearby stars with primitive ships. Most elves dismissed them as lived creatures barely worth notice, but the Empress saw something different. She saw potential. She saw a fire that her own people had lost. Humans lived brief lives, but they burned bright. They adapted and changed and never stopped reaching. They fought impossible odds and somehow won. They built families from strangers. They forgave their enemies. They dreamed of futures they would never see. List or proposed an alliance she wanted to share elven knowledge with humanity, to learn from their resilience in return, to create something new, something stronger than either race alone. The elven court was horrified. Alliance with primitives, it was beneath them. Which dangerous, it was wrong. But some agreed with the Empress. Some saw the same potential she did. The empire split, those who embraced change and those who clung to the old ways. Maya's uncle was named
Night Whisper was her father's brother, a powerful lord with his own fleet. Vex believed
humanity was a threat, that their rapid growth would consume everything, that their chaos would destroy order. He found allies in an unexpected place, the Korvath Dominion, an empire built on conquest and control. They promised Vex power. They promised him the throne. All he had to do was help them destroy those who sided with humanity. The civil war came swiftly and brutally. Dragon fought dragon, ships burned in the void worlds. Fell silent. Maya had been young, then only 200 years old, barely an adult. By elven standards, her father died defending a human colony. He and Ember fought against overwhelming odds, being time for evacuation ships to escape. Thousands of humans lived because of his sacrifice. Ember survived, but he was change-bonded to Maya. Through grief and duties worn to protect the daughter of the man he had called friend, the war raged for. Dakota Celestar fought with everything she had. But Vex had betrayed more than just family. He had opened a door. The Korvath were not acting alone. They served something darker, something called the Void, collective entities from beyond normal space beings that consumed entire civilizations, fed on fear and despair. Void corruption spread through Vex's force, is twisted the dragons loyal to him turn beauty into horror, made living things into weapons. Maya watched her mother make impossible choices, watched her order retreats, watched her sacrifice worlds to save others. The Empress knew they were losing. The elves had grown too comfortable, too certain of their superiority. They could not adapt fast enough, but humanity could see. Stera spent her final years protecting human colonies, ensuring they survived, giving them technology and warnings. She told Maya that humanity was the future, that they would face the void someday, that they were the only ones who could win. Then the Empress died, betrayed by those she had trusted, killed by her own brother-in-law. Vex claimed the throne, but it was hollow. The empire was already dead. Maya fled with Ember. They spent years running, hiding in the shadows of dying worlds, watching as the Korvath hunted down the last dragon. Bonded nobles one by one, they fell until only Elend She could have hidden forever, found some distant corner of space, but she remembered her mother's words. She began watching humanity following their expansion, seeing them face the Korvath for the first time. The Federation was young and weak. They should have been crushed immediately, but they fought with a ferocity that shocked the galaxy. They refused to surrender. Maya saw her mother's vision proven right. She joined them in secret, took on the guise of a refugee, worked the lowest jobs, watched and learned and protected where she could. For 300 years she had been among them, seeing them grow stronger, seeing them face horrors that would have broken her people, and never once did they give up. Morrison sat back in her chair. Her expression was unreadable. She asked why Maya had never revealed herself before, why stay hidden when she could have helped. Maya's eyes filled with pain. She explained that her presence brought danger. The Korvath would destroy entire worlds to find her. That Vex wanted her dead, wanted the last symbol of his sister's vision erased, staying hidden kept humanity safer. Let them grow without being targeted. But now the Korvath had found her anyway. The infiltrators at the Gala proved that they had been searching the ship, looking for her energy signature. She could run again. But she was done running. Lisa spoke then. Her voice was gentle but firm. She asked what Maya wanted, what she hoped to gain by revealing the truth. Maya met her gaze. She said she wanted to fight, to stand beside them as her mother had envisioned, to teach them what she knew, to bond dragons with human pilots, to show them they were stronger together. The Void Collective was coming. The Korvath were just servants. Real war had not even begun, but humanity had something the elves never had. They had hope that renewed with every generation. They had courage born from knowing life was short. They had bonds that transcended blood and species. Kate stepped forward. She challenged Maya's story, asked for proof, asked why they should believe any of this. Sember answered. His voice filled their minds deep and resonant, told her than any of them. He spoke of the battles he had fought, of the humans he had watched die protecting others, of the Empress who had seen their worthy, offered himself as proof, a dragon who could have fled, who could have saved himself. Chose two stages to honor a promise, chose to believe in the same dream. Morrison made her decision. She stood and looked at Maya. This woman who had cleaned floors, who had saved lives, who carried the weight of a fallen empire. The captain said she was part of the crew, that whatever name she used, she was one of them. Now they would face this together. Kate protested. Other officers voiced concerns. But Morrison was firm. She had seen enough. Trust had to start somewhere. Maya felt something break inside. Her 300 years of isolation, of carrying secrets alone, of believing she had to face everything herself. Crumbled tears ran down her face, the first tears she had shed since her mother died. Lisa came to her side, placed a hand on her shoulder. Simple human comfort, simple acceptance, and Maya understood why her mother had believed, why Alistara had fought so hard, because this was what humanity offered. Not just strength, but belonging, even to those who were different, even to those who were strange, even to those who carried the ghosts of fallen empires. They made family from anyone who fought beside the man. That was worth saving, worth fighting for, worth everything. The training began. The next day Maya stood in the main hangar with Ember beside her. 20 volunteers faced them, officers and pilots who wanted to try, who wanted to bond with dragons most. People thought she was crazy, thought the whole idea was impossible. Captain Morrison had given approval so they would try. Maya explained the basics. Dragons were not pets or tools. They were partners, equals. The bond required mutual respect, required trust deeper than words required. Willingness to share everything, your thoughts, sure. Fears are very soulsome. Volunteers left immediately. The idea of such intimacy scared them, but others stayed. Lissa was among them. So was Kate, despite her suspicions. A young pilot named Nina Crossan, engineer called Amy Rodriguez, others whose names would be written in history. Ember called out. His voice echoed across the hangar. For more dragons phased into existence. They'd been hiding in nearby space, waiting for this moment. Typhon was storm gray with silver eyes. Fury burned crimson and gold spark gleamed. Copper bright shadow was black smoke given for. Each dragon was ancient, each had survived the fall of the empire, each had chosen to follow Ember, to believe in Maya's mission, The bonding process was painful. Maya warned them of this. The dragon and human minds had to align, had to learn to think as one. It felt like fire in your skull, like drowning and flying at once, like being torn apart and remade. Nina was first. She stepped forward with fury. The crimson dragon lowered her massive head. Nina placed her hand on glowing scales, then screamed. Her body went rigid. Light poured from where they touched. The bond formed like lightning, painful and beautiful and terrifying when it ended. Nina collapsed. Fury caught her gently. The pilot's eyes opened. They glowed with inner fire. She could feel the dragon's thoughts, could sense her emotions. They were no longer separate. They were together over the next week. 3 more bonds formed. Lisa with Typhon, Amy with Sparkhand. Surprisingly, Kate with Shadow, the suspicious lieutenant, fought the bond, tried to maintain control, but Shadow was patient, showed her that control was not the point, trust was. When Kate finally surrendered to let herself be vulnerable, the bond snapped into place. She wept in the dragon's embrace understanding for the first time what Maya had tried to tell them. Meanwhile, Maya trained them, taught them ancient elven combat techniques, showed them how to fight in 3 dimensions, how to use dragon fire as both weapon and shield, how to move as one being the other. Crew members watched and watched as humans and dragons danced through the sky, watched impossible maneuvers, watched the birth of something new. But the Korvath were watching. 2 long-range sensors detected a massive fleet. It was led by a ship. They recognized the Void River Vex's flagship. He was coming for Mayo, coming with corrupted dragons, coming with an army. Captain Morrison called a war council. The Federation fleet was outnumbered 3-1. They could not win a straight fight, but they did not plan to fight straight. Maya revealed what she knew about Void corruption, about how it twisted living things, about its weaknesses. Corruption fed on fear and despair, but it could not stand against unity, against the light of stars freely. Given she had a plan, a desperate gamble, but it was their only chance. The battle would take place at Crimson Nebulae, a region of space filled with stellar gases, perfect for hiding, perfect for ambush, perfect for dragons who could phase between dimensions. Arrived with confidence. His fleet was massive, corrupted. Dragons flew alongside Korvath warships. There, once beautiful forms, now mechanical nightmares, metal, grafted to scales, weapons, fused to claws, eyes glowing with void energy. He broadcast a message. It filled every channel. His voice was smooth and mocking. He called for his niece to surrender, said her human pets could not save her, said he would let them die quickly if she came. Peacefully, Maya stood on the bridge of Valiant Dawn. Every human officer watched her, waiting for her response. She activated the communication era broadcast. Her reply across the entire Federation fleet revealed her identity to everyone, told them who she was, what she fought for, why she believed in them. She declared that Vex was wrong, that humanity was not weak, that their brief lives made them strong, that they cared in ways her uncle had forgotten, that together they would show him the future her mother had died. Formber roared his agreement. The other dragons joined him. The sound shook space itself. Then the battle began. The Korvath fleet surged forward. Plasma fire lit the nebula ships, exploded in brilliant flashes. The Federation forces scattered, using the gas clouds for cover, and the dragons struck Maya, and Ember led the charge. They moved like living lightning, phasing through attacks, striking from impossible angles. Stellar fire poured from Ember's jaws, burning away void corruption wherever it touched. The human-dragon pairs followed. Lisa and Typhon fought with perfect coordination, the storm dragon's electricity arcing between enemy ships. Nina and Fury were pure aggression, crimson fire and fearless dives. Emmy and Spark were surgical precise, strikes that disabled rather than destroyed. Kate and Shadow were ghosts appearing and vanishing, sowing chaos and confusion. Korvath had never seen anything like it. Their corrupted dragons were powerful. They fought alone, isolated. The human-dragon pairs fought as units, supporting each other, covering weaknesses, amplifying strengths. Federation fighters weaved between the dragons, creating formations the galaxy had never witnessed. Human tactical brilliance combined with dragon power. It was beautiful. Flit was terrifying. It was working. Vex watched from his flagship rage building. In his chest, this was not supposed to happen. Humans were nothing, primitives. How were they doing this? He ordered his personal guard forward 6. Corrupted dragons, once noble creatures, now twisted weapons. They targeted Maya. She saw them coming, felt their corruption. Like poison, but she did not run. She flew straight at them, ember beside her fire, against darkness hope. Against despair, the clash was violent. Dragon claws and fire and fury. Maya channeled power through their bond light that burned like stars. The corrupted dragon screamed. The void energy recoiled from it. One fell, then another. But there were too many. Maya felt exhaustion creeping in. 3 centuries of hiding had weakened her. She was not as strong as she once was. Then valiant dawn entered the fight. Captain Morrison had made a choice. Instead of retreating, she drove her ship forward straight at the void, reverse sacrificing her ship to create an opening. The crew evacuated to escape pods, but Morrison stayed at the helm, guiding it. Truth, a massive vessel crashed into Vex's flagship, both ships breaking apart, explosions ripping through the void. Morrison was thrown from the bridge, falling through spacer suit, breach seconds from death. Typhon sensed it, felt Lisa's horror. The dragon broke from formation, caught the captain in mid-fall. Light surrounded them both. Bond formed. Not planned, not prepared, but absolutely necessary. Morrison gasped as her mind opened. As Typhon's presence filled her, as the dragon's life force sealed her suit, kept her alive, made them. When Lisa felt it, too, through her connection to Typhon. 3 minds linked, captain and dragon and Commander Morrison's tactical genius. Typhon's ancient power, Lisa's combat experience. They became something more, and they turned the tide with Morrison bonded. The Federation forces rallied. New strategies flowed through the command network. Coordinated strikes hit critical points. The Corbath formation broke. Their corrupted dragons fell one by one. Vex's ship was crippled but not destroyed. He fled into the nebula, retreating. With what remained of his fleet, Maya wanted to pursue, but Ember held her back. They had won. The cost was terrible. Half the Federation fleet destroyed, hundreds dead, but they had proven something, proven that united they could stand. That together, human and dragon were unstoppable. The surviving ships regrouped, damaged but victorious, and across the fleet, across the entire Federation, word spread. Elven air lived. She fought with humanity and dragons, flew with human pilots. The war had changed. Everything had changed. In the wreckage of battle, Maya found Morrison, found her alive, found her bond at the captain, looked at her with new eyes that understood, that saw the world as dragons. Did Morrison spoke, simply asked if they were all like this also, and smiled. This was just the beginning. The Federation Council chamber was massive. Seats rose in tiers around a central platform. Representatives from dozens of colonies filled the space. Military officers lined the walls. News feeds broadcast to every human world. Maya stood at the center. She wore no disguise now. Her elven nature was clear for all to see. Burr waited outside, too large for the chamber, but his presence could be felt. Council members stared at her, some with wonder, some with fear, some with suspicions. Senator Diane Porter spoke. First, her voice was hard. She had lost her son in the Battle of Crimson Nebula, lost him defending the retreats. She demanded to know why Maya had hidden, why she had not helped sooner, why she had let humans die while she cleaned floors. Maya did not flinch from the accusation. She explained that her presence brought danger, that Vex had destroyed entire worlds, searching for herd, that staying hidden had kept humanity safer, let them grow stronger without being targeted. But Porter was not satisfied. She wanted to know what Maya wanted now, what price she would demand for her help. The question hung in the air. Waited for the answer. Maya looked around the chamber, saw the faces of those who had fought, those who had lost loved ones, those who carried scars from endless wars. She spoke clearly. She wanted nothing. No payment, no favors, no power. She only wanted to stand beside them too. Fight until the war ended, or she fell, not as their ruler, but as their friend. The chamber erupted in debates. Some called her words manipulation, others called them truth. Arguments flew back and forth. Captain Morrison stood. Her presence commanded. Silent, she wore her uniform with new medals, awards for the Battle of Crimson Nebula. That bond with Typhon had changed her, made her more than she was. She spoke with absolute conviction. Maya had saved her life twice, had sat beside them when she could have run, had revealed herself to protect them. Morrison trusted her. That should be enough. Lisa stepped forward next. She showed the scars from the Gala attack explained how Maya had thrown herself into danger. How she had watched this woman clean floors for 3 years, never complaining, never asking for special treatment. Tiff. That was not proof of character. Then what was Nina and Amy and Kate joined them, the dragon-bonded pilots. They testified to what Maya had taught them to. The power she had shared freely to the bond that now connected them all. More voices rose officers who had served on valiant Dawn crew members who remembered the quiet Janitor soldiers who had fought at Crimson Nebula. Tide began to turn, but some remained unconvinced. They demanded guarantees, wanted contracts, wanted assurances. Maya stood silent through it all. She understood their fear, had lived with fear herself. For centuries, finally, a young representative spoke. Her name was Claire Hessies. She came from a colony that had been destroyed, lost. Everything to Korvath raids. Claire asked the only question that mattered. Will you stand with us when they come back? When Vex returns, when the Void Collective arrives, will you be there? Maya met her gaze. She knelt, an elven noble kneeling before humans, an heir to an empire bowing to a federation. The gesture shocked everyone into silence. Maya spoke an oath, ancient words in the elven tongue, then repeated them in human language. She swore on Ember's fire and her mother's memory that she would fight beside humanity until the war ended or she fell, not as empress, but as sister in arms. The chamber remained quiet. Then Claire began. 2 claps, lowly at first, then others joined. The sound grew, filled, the space became thunder. The vote was called. Maya's status would be decided. She would be accepted or exiled. The count began, voices calling out yes or no, each vote echoing in the vast chamber. Maya waited, heart pounding, knowing her fate rested with these people. These final count was announced. Maya was accepted, welcomed into the Federation, given full citizenship, recognized as an ally. Shay felt tears on her face. Embers joy flooded through their bond. Outside the chamber, dragons roared, their voices joining in celebration. But Maya was not done. She stood and addressed the council, told them about the ancient elven records, about the prophecy her mother had believed about the twice-born empress who would wear the crown of 2 peoples, would forge an alliance that would teach dragons humility and give humans wings. The prophecy spoke of a war not just against the Korvath, but against the darkness beyond, against forces that consumed entire realities. Humanity was not chosen by chance. They had something unique, something the Void Collective could not corrupt: the ability to hope, even in despair, to love, even in hatred, to forgive even the unforgivable. That was their power. That was what would save the galaxy. The council listened, some believed, some doubted, but they agreed to form an alliance. The Stellar Covenant was born, representatives from human colonies, survivors who had heard Maya's call, dragon-bonded warriors, all united under a new banner. Maya was offered the title of Empress. She refused, said she would rather fight from the bridge of a ship, that an empress should be where her people are, not isolated on a throne. Morrison was promoted to fleet admiral, given command of the combined forces. She accepted on one condition, that Maya serve as her advisor, her partner in this war. Together they would face what came. The ceremony followed days later. It blended human and elven traditions, music from both culture, symbols of both peoples. Maya officially became a Federation citizen while retaining her elven heritage. The dragons were granted full rights, recognized as sentient beings, partners, not property. The bonded pilots took new oaths as swearing to protect both their peoples. Lisa stood with Typhonina, with Fury Amy, with Sparkate, with Shadow Morrison, with her dragon, and dozens more. The program had expanded, more humans, bonding more dragons, emerging from hiding, more hope spreading across the stars. After the ceremony, Maya returned to her old quarters, the tiny janitor's closet. She had been given better rooms, but she wanted to visit one last time. Lisa found her there. Maya was cleaning. One final time, Lisa asked why. Maya smiled, said it reminded her why she stayed, that humans never saw a janitor or an alien or a weapon. They saw someone who needed kindness. That was why humanity would win, not because they were strongest, but because they never forgot to be kind. Lisa sat beside her. They talked about the future, about the war still raging, about Vex still hunting, about the Void Collective looming. It was not over, might never be over, but they would face it together. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. The Stellar Covenant grew stronger. Human-dragon pairs patrolled the borders. Maya commanded fleets of mixed species, all unified under the banner she designed, Daydragon, and a human hand clasped in partnership Vex. Attacked again and again each time, pushed back each time, losing ground the void. Collective tested their defenses, sent corrupted forces tried to break their unity, but the Covenant held in the ship's garden. Maya taught new recruits, shared the old ways, learned new ones from them. Exchange went both ways, knowledge flowing freely, trust building with each day. Young pilots asked what they should call her. Empress Commander Lottie Maya always gave the same answer: call me Maya. The janitor who went to the Gala who found a family ember coiled around the garden's central tree. His rumble was contentment. He had waited centuries for this, for his bonded too. Find peace too, find belonging. The war continued, battles won and lost, lives saved and mourned. But something had changed. The galaxy had hope again, proof that different peoples could unite, that old enemies could become allies, that even in darkness light could shine. 5 years after the Galamia stood on the bridge of a new ship, Covenant's flagship, named for her mother, the Celestial Admiral Morrison commanded the fleet. Maya served beside her as promised, as chosen. They prepared for another battle, another fight against the darkness. Vex was out there somewhere still, hunting, still corrupted, but he was losing. The Void Collective was being pushed back star by star, system by system, because humans and elves and dragons fought together, because they had learned from each other, because they refused to surrender. Maya looked out at the stars, remembered her mother's dream, remembered 300 years of hiding, remembered a simple invitation: come with me to the Gala. Those words had changed everything, had given her the courage to step into the light, had shown her that belonging was worth any risk. She smiled, Ember's presence warm in her mind, the crew busy around her, her family, her people, not by blood, but by choice, and that made it stronger. The war was not over, but together they would finish it, together they would face whatever came, together they would prove that the greatest empires are not built on pride or power, but on the courage to stand beside those different from yourself, on kindness shown to hope that refuses to die. Maya had been an empress, had been a refugee, had been a janitor. Now she was simply Homond. That was enough.